Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's HR Exchange Network interview with Jenny Hill. She is the Director of Learning and Development at Sun Life, and she is going to be a speaker at our upcoming corporate learning event. We are going to be talking today a little bit about leadership development, which we know from our latest State of HR report is the top priority in learning and development for many of you who responded. So, Jenny, it's great to have you here with us. I thought we would start with having you tell me a little bit about why you think leadership development is such a vital priority for companies right now.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a couple of things that are at play that are making leadership development so important. I think one of them is the state of change, both in the environment that we're operating in and within the marketplace, has really reinforced the importance of leadership, good leadership, because leaders are a key component of driving change in organizations. So I think that's one big piece of it. I think the other piece of it is there's been a lot of transformation in organizations over the past, several years, both from, the impacts of the pandemic and, digital transformation. And all of those things really play into the importance of leadership roles to help keep organizations moving in a consistent direction and toward the goals that they set for their organizations and for their customers. So I think that is really what's bringing that to the forefront. And with so many things going on, good leadership just really matters more than ever before.
One of the things that I've heard you're going to be talking about is kind of bringing leadership development into the new century, into this new world of work. What do you think that means? What can people anticipate is coming or maybe has already begun?
Thank you. I think it's interesting when you think about traditional leadership development programs. There's a lot of images that might come into your mind when you're thinking about traditional leadership development programs. It's whisking leaders away off site to learn about all the secrets of leadership. It's really high flying executive MBAs, those types of things. And what we've seen over the span of, I mean, it's really more than 20 years at this point, is those programs aren't serving us anymore. We're not able to feel like the leaders that we have in place are prepared for the challenges of the future. We're not feeling like we're getting ahead of things. And I think what that means is we really need to engage more people in active leadership development. That is going to include both, inviting more people into that leadership development space, but also, creating more accessible programs.
Right.
Not everybody can take 5 days and go do an intensive leadership development program. And what we've seen is the impacts of those things do decrease over time. So how do you keep people developing those skills? How do you, actively engage people in developing leadership skills, whether they're sitting in a people leadership role or not? Because these are things that are important in everybody's role so that we can continue into the future.
It's true. I mean, growing into a leader is kind of something everybody has to do in one way or another,
We all
regardless
lead
of.
ourselves.
Yes, we all lead ourselves. Ah, amen. That is so true. And so, tell me a little bit about how you expect things to change, like in terms of delivery methods and the way people are getting this kind of training. Leaders often are in a unique position because of their busy schedules and the travel they have to do and things like that. Tell me a little bit about how it will be delivered differently, maybe in the coming years.
I think a lot of learning and development programs have really shifted to more virtual and live virtual modes of delivery. I think it was a long time coming. I think it makes a lot of sense when we think about the
Mhm.
value that you can get through a virtual delivery platform. It's really increased over the past several years. Video conferencing has really come along, and we've got a lot more opportunities to engage without necessarily having to travel to a co-located place. Uh,
Mhm.
so I think there's more opportunities and increasing opportunities for virtual delivery and even asynchronous delivery of some components. That said, leadership development is very, it is very personal. It is very, there's a lot of interaction that needs to take place. So I think having live components that are, in time, in space, are, going to continue to be important even into the future. But we need to create experiences where leaders can access the resources, the skills, the people that they need to really excel in their roles, and they have access to more of those things than ever before. So anything that we create needs to be high value, easy to access, and fit into, as you say, the leader's busy schedule. So more virtual, more online, more digital, all of those things, but not discounting the live in-person interactions, because those things are still going to continue to be important.
Yeah, I think in some ways they've gained importance, even since, many leaders need to have empathy and need to be able to have that human touch. And it would be lacking without the people involved in your learning and development. So I can imagine that will continue. And that brings me kind of to my next question. One of the things that we expect from your session at Corporate Learning is this discussion of linking learning and development with change management, and kind of aligning that with the long-term business goals of a company. What can we expect coming from you about that? And how important is that to the whole L&D programming that you provide?
I think what I and many other L&D practitioners are beginning to discover is that programs are not, they're not a discrete set of interactions. It's an ongoing process that happens for people, and it's the same thing with change. Any change, any new shift that happens, there's going to be any number of experiences that help us get from where we started to where we want to be, either behavior or outcomes wise. So in terms of leadership development and learning and development, that means that there's so many more follow-ups. There's a lot of, continual reinforcement. It's funny, we talk about spaced recall as the aspirin of learning, where we're not sure how it works, but it seems to help no matter when you use it. So, just more opportunities for people to recall, what skills they've practiced, things that they've learned, so that they can continue on that path toward whatever the intended outcome is. But it's really a shift away from that, that sort of one-time event that we hope has made a big impact, to lots and lots of things over time and little shifts. So I think about it similar to, all the changes in technology and software delivery. We're not doing a big bang, every 6 months learning summit. We're doing a lot of little teeny bangs all throughout, the span of those 6 months, in order to help get us to where we want to go. And ultimately, I think we move faster. I think we move further that way. But it represents a real fundamental shift in how we work and learn.
Yeah, and I think aligning it with the business goals is really important because, again, all of these things, learning and development, we just had our diversity event and we talked about this there too. If you're not making the business case for these things and proving that it's going to influence your achievements, you're going to lose out on having these resources. So, very vitally important. So tell me a little bit in your own words, because I could go on and on about why this session is going to have an impact and people should tune in. But why do you think people should tune into the session that you're going to participate in during Corporate Learning 2023?
I think it'll give you an opportunity to think about how you're engaging in leadership development in your own work, things you might be able to try, things that might be going well that you want to reinforce. And it'll give you an opportunity just to think about the role of leaders in all of the things that we do, because they do have an outsized impact on the business. They have an outsized impact on the employee experience. So it's a really important audience to focus on.
I think that's great. And I will just add also that we have great opportunities for everyone to ask you questions during our live chat. They'll be able to network with one another there as well. And they can share their comments and stories too, which I'm sure we can all benefit from. Before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like us to know about leadership development and learning and development right now and the trends that you're seeing?
I think the only thing that I'll add to take away is that it's going to continue to be important, and we have to keep thinking about leadership and learning in new ways, uh, but that the underlying skills haven't changed all that much. So even with all of the, all of the drastic changes we've seen in work from the pandemic and from digital transformation, we're still setting strategy. We're still, we're still moving toward a vision. We're still, doing goals. All of those things are still, still at the heart of leadership development. And if we keep coming back to those basics, we'll go a long way.
I think that's great advice and the perfect way to end today. I hope all of you enjoyed our conversation and that you'll tune in to Corporate Learning in September and join us to continue the discussion and to also add your 2 cents. We'll see you then. Thank you so much. Bye bye.